What's up, everyone? This is Bacon, and today I want to talk about pets because I think I've been making a mistake with how I've been approaching pets overall. I think pets overall is just kind of a confusing thing, but something I want to touch on today is that there's been a mistake that I've made with pets, and that mistake is not having duplicates of the good pets. I've been just kind of perusing through. I got my one light bearer owl, and that's all I really have. But there's a lot of things. You can see all my kind of ascended pets here. I only have one owl. I have one deer. I have two of these guys. I got two of the green grassy orbs. And honestly, I've been kind of making some mistakes with my pets' decisions lately. I think kind of looking back, looking at what a lot of people are doing with strategies and things like Dream Realms and Arena, and I've realized that I really should get more than one of these pets because they're just really good, especially the owl is really good in multiple teams. And so it doesn't make sense to just have one. And so thankfully for me, I had like 300 of these. I've been pulling these just kind of when I'm bored to try to get some more stuff for some more owls. I am close to getting another Ascended Owl, and at that point, I will hopefully get him up to around level 6. I think 6 is a good level to kind of aim for. Obviously, you can try to get a higher one and get lucky, but it seems like 6 is somewhat reasonable to get to. And I would just use some of the fodder heroes, like the white orbs are pretty bad. Green orbs, really solid actually in a few areas, so I wouldn't use your green orbs. But brown orbs aren't great. Brown and white, I think, are kind of the two that can be used for fodder in most cases. But everything else, there are some niche things you can use them for. But I want to touch on the owl because I think it's important to have multiple copies because the owl just brings a lot of value across the board. Owl can be really good in Dream Realm. It can be really good in Arena. And because there are so many teams in both of those game modes, you can just use like 2 or 3 of them, and it can be really helpful. A few things to point out. The deer can be really good for campaign. So you can have 2 or 3 deers as well. Owl's also great with campaign, but I think deer kind of gives you that sustain, especially with Forked Fate, which is really nice. I don't even know what this guy's nickname is, but this dude, Flame Pokemon looking dude, kind of looks like a Pokemon. He is really good with Mauler invade comps. So think like Crassio, comps with Crassio and Awakened Brutus and stuff like that. He can be really solid for us. So you definitely want to keep some copies of him as well. And like I mentioned, there are some, the Grassy Orb is probably around the second best Dream Realm pet currently. I think that would be excluding the new Awakened or Fabled Beasts. I would say those two are probably maybe a little better than these guys. But as far as the easily attained pets, I would say you should aim for having 3 owls, maybe 2 or 3 deer, and maybe 2 or 3 of these guys, and then maybe saving 1 or 2 of the Grassy Orbs as well. And then maybe having like 1 copy of each of these other guys, and then the white and brown pretty much can use for fodder. This guy is not that great, but maybe a few instances where he might be a little niche, but you could also use him for fodder if you really want to. Now, with the pets, there's a few things you want to keep in mind. One, there are a few different traits that are more beneficial than others. With the owl, I would recommend having 1 owl that has multiple of these light bearer buffs and saving that for a light bearer team. So, say you have a Dream Realm team where you have Belinda, Rosalina, Sanja, and I don't know, 2 other light bearers that you want to throw in there. You would probably want to use your owl that has more of these buffs for that one. And then with your other 2 owls that you have ascended, try to roll these that don't have the light bearer buffs, just have more generic buffs, because the owl really has his value from his abilities and not necessarily his buffs, because obviously the buffs are kind of the same across the board. But you want to get an owl that doesn't have as many of these for the other 2, and then get one that has a lot of the light bearer buffs. Now, as far as the stats that you want to aim for, attack is a really good one. That's probably the best one in most cases. HP is one that's like not the top desirable, but is not a bad one to have. I think having some HP in there is always good. Let's see if I have anyone. Magic penetration can be good depending on the scenario. I would say defense is really the only one that's not super beneficial. But magic penetration and physical pierce are two that are also good. I would say attack and then a toss between magic penetration and physical penetration and health. I think both those are good. And because you have 6 of them, you can get a blend of both. I would just say the one that you want to least prioritize is defense. But because there's so many of these, like you're just going to have defense in here. And that's okay too. I would say crit is not super important. I think there's a few niche ones where it can be important, but crit is definitely not a high priority. And then same with life leech. Life leech is just not a high priority stat right now. But attack, HP, pierce, magic penetration. I think those 3 are the big ones. Physical resist, also not a big one. Magic resist, also not a super big one. I would say those ones I mentioned before are the big ones you want to aim for. Now, if you have your 3 owls with the light bearer one, you have a few deer, you have the other ones that I mentioned. You might also be considering these bad boys. Now, so far I have been just focused on Celestial because that's the first one that's come out. If you happen to be a player that has played or just started playing and you haven't really invested in either of these, I would say Pegasus is probably looking a little better at this point, honestly. But I'm already so far invested in Celestial. I'm just going to try to max her out and then go for Pegasus afterwards. Both are good pets. They're not bad by any means, but I think they if you have the choice between which one you want to go for first, I would say Pegasus is probably the one you want to aim for between the two. And then the last thing I want to mention for those of you who maybe are like, I don't really know how to get these guys, how to get the let's see which one. This one has a little better stats. I don't know how to get the stats or how to level them up. I'll just show you. Once you have them combined or once you have them ascended, you can combine them and you will put another hero or another pet in here. I'm going to go ahead and use these 2, for example. I'm going to merge them. I don't want this one. I want it to be this guy. But he's a level 6. So I think I'm going to just take the 6 and then try to merge him with this. If it doesn't work out, I guess I'm just out of luck. Rip. All right, I'm just going to... Yeah, this is a bad one. I'm gonna keep this one. I'm gonna pull more of this guy. I almost have another one ascended, so I'm gonna keep pulling for those and get another one of those beasts. But you kind of see how it works. You kind of put the 2 in there. You hope to get the hero or the pet that you want between the 2. Sometimes it makes sense to combine 2 of the same one, so you don't have to worry about them kind of giving you the pet you don't want. That's kind of the issue with some of the fodder. You can use them as fodder, but then if it doesn't work out in your favor of the pet you want, you're kind of just stuck with losing your fodder and keeping your other pet. So kind of a risk with going that. But like I said, you can just keep the ones you want. And then because there's so many of the baits, what are these things even called? The baits, special permits. You can just literally summon so many of these. Look, I already got a purple one of him. I'll pull this one. And just kind of prioritizing whatever you're kind of aiming for. In most instances, I would recommend the deer and the owl, and then the green orbs, and then the guy that I'm trying to go for, the Pokemon Flame Belly. But a lot of times, I would just go off of whatever rarity is the highest available and click on it. If you click on one that is not the highest rarity, the game will say, hey, are you sure? It's a nice reminder because I often just kind of try to do this really quickly and forget about it, or I don't see the best one available. But that's the video I want to make today on, pets. I think pets are something you just kind of forget about and you don't really care much. I think eventually the long term kind of, let's see if I can get something. Nope. I think the long term health of pets is just going to be, they're going to keep releasing these awakened pets or the fable beasts. And I think eventually there's going to be so many available that you just really won't use the normal pets except for maybe like the owl and the deer, and that'll really be it. Because I think they're just going to keep flooding the game until there's so many fabled that it just doesn't make sense to use normal pets. That's my hypothesis. It'll probably take a little while for that to happen, but I think that's the long-term kind of outlook on pets. But that's the video I wanted to make today, guys. Hopefully this is helpful. Pets is a really confusing thing. It's not the most exciting part of the game, but it's definitely something that you need to pay attention for if you want to kind of move up in the rankings of the game. So hopefully that's helpful. Thank you for watching, and as always, have a great rest of your day. Peace.